Hello, welcome to another episode of the Lifestyle MD. I am your host, Dr. Angela, and this is episode number 17. The topic of today's episode is gratitude. Specifically, I will be discussing cultivating a gratitude mindset for physical and mental well-being. When I talk about having a gratitude mindset or being grateful, a lot of times I think people focus on moments, or as I used to think of it, is just that time during the morning where I sit and I try to think about the things that I'm grateful for. You know, I might write down 3 things in a journal. I've got a gratitude journal where I try to keep track of the things that I'm grateful for on a daily basis, weekly basis, and so forth. It has since transformed into an ongoing practice throughout my day, something that I am intentional about on a regular basis. And in fact, it's become so natural and just habitual that I'm not even necessarily trying. It just happens. And that's the kind of mindset that I want to talk to you about today. Individuals with a gratitude mindset actively focus on recognizing good things in their life on a daily basis, both big and small. It may seem unusual that I would talk about gratitude as a physician and how it pertains to your physical well-being, your mental well-being. But once you understand what the evidence shows about a gratitude mindset, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer. Embracing a gratitude mindset has been associated with numerous mental, emotional, and even physical health benefits. We will get into these benefits as I see them over the course of this episode and the next. As it pertains to your general health, a gratitude mindset can contribute to better cardiovascular function, better immune function, improved pain tolerance, and sleep, among many other things. It can also improve your energy by way of better sleep quality, stress reduction, and improved focus. Finally, one of the other things I want to focus on is how a gratitude mindset contributes to better weight management. When you have a gratitude mindset, you have enhanced dopamine production without needing to turn to food. You have enhanced self-esteem, healthier relationships, and you can engage in mindful eating. There's too many topics here to cover in one episode, so today I'm going to focus on what it means to have a gratitude mindset and how it improves your general health. In the next episode, I will share my perspective on how it improves energy and how it can lead to better weight management. And then I will conclude that episode by telling you how you can go about cultivating a gratitude mindset in your own life. All right, let's get into it. By definition, a gratitude mindset involves cultivating a sense of thankfulness, expressing appreciation for the present moment, acknowledging contributions of others and one's well-being. And this goes way beyond just positive thinking. You know, we're not talking about having just overall being a positive person. That's not what it means to have a gratitude mindset. You have to have a sincere recognition of the value of the abundance that is present in various aspects of your life. So what are the characteristics of people with a gratitude mindset? Individuals who have a gratitude mindset frequently express joy. They celebrate all of God's blessings. They remember who and what helped them in their life and helped them when things turned out for the better. They endure hardships with a grateful heart. They serve others with their talent, their time, and their money, not necessarily all at the same time, but whatever makes sense when it makes sense. They value the small things, not just the big things in life. And they spend time with loved ones and friends. I will add to this, they also spend time in nature. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to be or to spend time out in nature. When you spend time in nature, you're reminded of God's glory. You are reminded of how amazing this world is, and in spite of any negativity that may be going on around you in the news or any circumstances, there's a lot of research that talks about the benefits of a gratitude mindset. When I help people and clients improve their physical well-being, I always start with mental well-being, because a healthy mindset leads to a healthy body. When people feel positive emotions of gratitude and gratefulness, your brain structure actually changes. First, the medial prefrontal cortex of the brain lights up, which is responsible for feelings of reward, morality, social connections, and the ability to recognize positive things and positive experiences. And then gratitude creates these new neural pathways in these zones. The more you practice gratitude, the more you strengthen your ability to revisit these positive experiences, to revisit these emotions over and over and over again. So in other words, the more you practice practice gratitude, the easier it is for you to enter a gratitude state of mind. Isn't that amazing? So equally amazing is that gratitude has an effect on your body's physiology. When we feel grateful, we activate healing emotions that come from positivity and not just optimism, but just gratitude. So our body, our brain releases surges of hormones like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. You've probably heard of all these hormones. These hormones are naturally mood boosting, healing hormones in our body. And when we have gratitude and express gratitude and put ourselves in states of gratitude, these surges will enhance your mood and ease anxiety. There's even evidence that sustained gratitude practices can abate symptoms of clinical depression and PTSD over time, not immediately, but over time, and in conjunction with the help of a professional, oftentimes also with medications. But incorporating thankfulness as a daily habit and a daily gratitude practice can help facilitate that natural antidepressant effect of these positive hormones. Gratitude has an almost holy ability to boost your self-esteem, your sense of self-worth. And that's because it takes us out of a scarcity mindset. Gratitude is the very opposite of scarcity. Scarcity puts you in a place of feeling like bad events and situations just keep happening and that the world is against you. And when you cultivate a thankful mindset, a gratitude mindset, you will start to notice abundance around you. You will begin to believe that you are worthy of happiness and love and joy because you're putting yourself in a positive state of mind, one that focuses on all that is good instead of all that is bad. And when we are truly grateful, we recognize that we already have everything that we need. I mean, there's a lot of biblical principle there, right? You know, we were put here on this earth. We were given everything we need. Our Holy Father has provided us with everything we need. And there are definitely extenuating circumstances, and there's things going on in the world where it's certainly difficult to have a gratitude mindset. I'm not discounting that there are times and places where it is very challenging, but amazingly, even people in those circumstances, not all, but some, will find a way to have gratitude. Most of us were taught as children to say thank you as an expression of our gratitude, and most of us understand that it's good to be grateful for what we have, but a lot of us have a hard time putting it into practice and actually feeling it. The latest evidence out there does show that a daily gratitude practice, and I would encourage you, I would suggest a continuous and ongoing, not just once in a day, but throughout the day, is not only useful, but it is physiologically or physically and psychologically transformative. When you unlock the power of gratitude, you can access better health, peace of mind, and joy. Someone once said that happy people, or it's not happy people who are thankful, it is thankful people who are happy. If you'll indulge me, I'd like to share something from my personal story about my journey with gratitude and how gratitude has changed my perspective on what's happening in my life on a daily basis. Now, I'm not telling you this to say that I'm perfect and I've got it all figured out. By no stretch of the means am I perfect in any way. I'm sure there's multiple people that are 10 steps ahead of me. But you know what? Some of you listening are 2, 3, 10, 20 steps behind, and you could learn something from this. And I hope that you find this helpful. If I sit and recall my life and I ponder the different events and circumstances around my life and how I responded to them, there were several tragic and, very upsetting negative events that have happened over the course of my lifetime. From the loss of my father, loved ones, going to jail and prison, people causing me deep hurt, losing multiple relatives, which seemed to be like year after year after year. And I come from a very close family. Losing my stepson, my husband's son. It just seemed like there's countless things. One of my closest uncles died the day that I found out I was pregnant with my son, Miles. I mean, these are just a handful of examples of times in my life or episodes in my life where I could have focused on, actually I did at the time. In between each episode, I pretty much existed in a state of, okay, what's next? When's the next ball going to drop? Such that in between what should be considered more like the good times, I stayed in a constant state of anticipation of the worst. Just earlier, I talked about how not having a gratitude mindset, the opposite of that is a scarcity mindset. And that's where I existed. I existed in a state of scarcity. Even as I was moving along in my career, going to the University of Michigan, getting my engineering degree, going to work for GE, and then going from there, getting accepted into medical school, and then going from there and going to residency, and just kind of like moving along and having these, accolades and progressing in my career, I still had an overwhelming feeling of scarcity, whether it was I still wasn't good enough or something bad was going to happen. There was just I could never really just enjoy and appreciate every step of the process. mindset. That change didn't really come until I reached what I call my rock bottom moment. And it's interesting because it may not have been like technically the worst moment in my life, but it certainly felt that way. And it was an accumulation of years and years and years of existing in this scarcity mindset, of being a people pleaser, of not having a gratitude mindset, of a whole slew of things. And that's when my health declined dramatically. I've talked about this in other podcasts and on my social media and segments, but I won't spend too much time on that here. But for about 2 years, I literally felt like my world was coming to an end because I couldn't function. A healthy middle-aged woman, just prior to that, winning a bodybuilding competition, seemingly, at the top of my health, doing well in my career. And then I couldn't eat, I couldn't exercise, and I could barely even think. I could barely, if at all, get through the day. I took a leave of absence from work as a physician at the organization I was working with at the time. I took 3 months off. And it was during this time away that I was able to recalibrate, where I changed my focus from everything that was going wrong to focus on everything that was going right. And it's been a work in progress ever since then. I don't get it right every day. And that I still find myself correcting myself. I'll go down this negative path of, even just yesterday, I was telling my husband, I've got all these things to do. I've started this new practice. I've got this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And I found myself, and I went back and looked at it and I said, wow, here I am listing and focusing on all these things that are overwhelming me. But how awesome is it that I get to do these things, that I get to live out my purpose, that I get to practice medicine in a way that is changing lives. This is hard, but by the grace of God, I will get through it. And he didn't bring me here for just nothing. I know that I'm serving my purpose in going down this path, because things just keep lining up. And so I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to overcome these challenges. And I'm also grateful that there are people in my path, in my life, that I know I can turn to, who can provide me with guidance. I'm not alone. So spin that around. And then my husband even says, you know what, I'm here to help you. Just tell me what I can do to help you. I'm so grateful. I could have made that a very negative experience. And I did for a moment, but then I recalibrated and brought it back to where I needed to be, into a state of gratitude. Having a gratitude mindset has been truly transformative. And a lot of things are taking place in my life right now. And there's so many things that I could be overwhelmed by, and, things that are taking my energy and making, just all of the stuff. But I can't help but have this overwhelming feeling of joy. And it's not because that's not necessarily my natural place to be in a state of joy, I'll be honest. But I just feel that all the time. And I definitely attribute that to having and sustaining and encouraging and cultivating a gratitude mindset on a daily basis. Okay, I hope I didn't bore you too much with my personal journey towards having a gratitude mindset. Let's transition to discussing the physical benefits of gratitude, specifically the connection between gratitude and stress reduction, the impact on sleep quality, and also how it contributes to a stronger immune system. Earlier, I already alluded to the benefits of gratitude in terms of its effect on your mood. So we know that at a neurologic level, gratitude alters the structures in your brain, activates emotional zones that produce happy chemicals, as I'll call them. Let's look at a study by 2 psychologists, Dr. Robert Emmons of the University of California, Davis, and Dr. Michael McCullough, I think, of the University of Miami. So they both conducted research on gratitude. And in one study, they separated participants into 3 groups. They asked them to write a few sentences each week. Group 1 wrote what they were grateful for. Group 2 wrote about their daily irritations. And Group 3 would write on anything that had an impact on their week, with no emphasis on it being positive or negative. And then after 10 weeks, those who wrote about gratitude were more optimistic and felt better about their lives. Okay, so that's a little woo-woo. Let's look a little bit further. So we talked about earlier how gratitude impacts the limbic system of the brain, or just a part of the brain, which happens to be the limbic system. The limbic system is the part that is responsible for all of our emotional experiences. So it's made up of some big fancy terms: the hypothalamus, the thalamus, the hippocampus, amygdala. And studies have shown that the hippocampus and the amygdala, whose main function is to regulate emotions, memory, and bodily functions, become activated with feelings of gratitude. So gratitude being a feeling. And additionally, that gratitude can then lead to lower blood pressure. It can facilitate more sleep and improve the immune function in your body. So gratitude, by these mechanisms, actually reduces stress hormones. So according to a research that was also published by UC Davis Health, gratitude is related to a 23% lower level of cortisol. And that's the hormone that causes stress in the body. So cortisol, stress in the body, doesn't have to always be a bad thing. Sometimes you need to run away from a lion. But in modern society, we live in a constant state of high stress, of heightened stress, and oftentimes for much less significant things. So exercising gratitude will help you lower those unnecessary levels of cortisol. Gratitude also helps you block toxic emotions such as resentment and envy and depression and regret, because it to redirect your focus towards things that you're grateful for, towards appreciating what you have already. Practicing gratitude, of course, is not a magic pill to treat anxiety, but it is a tool, and it can be used to relieve a lot of symptoms that are associated with anxiety and stress, the negative thoughts that a lot of people will have circulating in their mind that promote feelings of anxiety. If you can redirect those thoughts towards accepting and acknowledging that there are things in your life that you can be thankful for, then you will realize that some of your fears and worries may not be rational, or that they don't deserve as much of your time and as much of the attention that you're giving them on a daily basis. So that being said, if your stress is low and your cortisol is low, your blood pressure also tends to be lower. So that leads to better cardiovascular health as well, lower risk of heart attacks, strokes, and things of that nature. Let's move on to the impact of gratitude on sleep. According to a study published in the National Center of Biotechnology Information in the United States, gratitude helps people manage sleeping disorders, including insomnia. The title of the study was Gratitude Influences Sleep Through the Mechanism of Pre-Sleep Cognitions. The objective of the study was to test whether individual differences in gratitude are related to sleep after controlling for neuroticism and other traits. Interesting. To test whether pre-sleep cognitions are a mechanism for the underlying relationship. I'm not going to address the methods of the study, but I will tell you that it was a large cross-sectional study of 186 males and 215 females. The results of the study show that gratitude was a predictor of greater subjective sleep quality and sleep duration, and less sleep latency and daytime dysfunction. And interestingly, the results of better sleep quality as it pertained to gratitude was independent of the personality traits that they evaluated in the study, including neuroticism. So regardless of what your baseline traits and qualities and, what your baseline personality type is, you can still achieve great benefits. So gratitude is not something that's reserved for people who have a generally positive outlook on life, just naturally. Now, what about the immune boosting effects of having a gratitude mindset? Immunity is influenced by your stress levels. It's influenced by your sleep. It's influenced by what you eat. There's also some genetic predispositions, but there's no surprise that if you have a gratitude mindset and that helps with sleep and that also helps with stress management, that you're going to be a person who is generally going to have a better immune system and overall be healthy. Now, there's a little bit of research to back this up. A study that was conducted by researchers at the University of Kentucky and Utah found that certain law students under stress who indicated higher levels of optimism had more disease-fighting cells in their body. In addition to these fortifying cells, thankfulness promoted better sleep and lower levels of stress. Again, two key factors in a healthy immune system. I'm going to add one other health benefit here, and that is how gratitude can reduce chronic pain. I feel like I've experienced a little bit of this myself because I'm someone who suffers from chronic back pain. And gosh, I noticed this week that I have actually for more than a week, but for a while now, months, I have not really had as many flare-ups of my back pain. And I'm certain that gratitude has a lot to do with it, and stress reduction and all the things that gratitude helps promote. So it should be no surprise that people who practice gratitude are more likely to have better pain management. So the Journal of Health Psychology published a study where participants who expressed gratitude reported less inflammation, fatigue, and anxiety. Also, the mental benefits of practicing more appreciation and positivity reduced their physiological stress on their body and also had a significant reduction in their pain, because physiologic stress heightens all pain. So it makes a lot of sense. If chronic pain, pain is going to be pain. But when you are chronically stressed, when your cortisol levels are high, when your immune system is suppressed, you are more sensitive to pain stimulants or pain stimulation than if the other case were true. If your stress levels were lower, if your immune system was stronger, if you just overall had less anxiety and less inflammation in your body. It just all makes sense, right? I just went over a handful of the physical benefits of gratitude, and there are countless others, I'm sure. My next episode, I'll talk about better energy and I'll talk about how it leads to better weight management. But I would love to hear from some of you about your experiences with gratitude and how it's had a positive impact on your life, whether it be physical, mental, or with regards to your ability to manage weight, whatever it may be. I would love to hear how gratitude has had a positive impact on you. And if you know someone who would benefit from this episode or any of my other episodes, I would love for you to share this podcast with them. So key points from today is that a gratitude mindset is not something you do or experience once during the day. It's a practice that you engage in throughout the day. I'll talk to you in the next episode about building that mindset. It may start off with being a single episode or just being mindful or intentional a few different times, but ultimately having a gratitude mindset is something that embodies or encompasses every everything you do and how you respond to situations around you throughout the day on a daily basis. Today, we also talked about some of the physical benefits of having a gratitude mindset, specifically stress reduction, better sleep, better immune function, and also how it can reduce symptoms of chronic pain. I hope that you will join me for the next episode of this two-part series where I discuss how having a gratitude mindset can improve your energy, improve your weight management, and then I'll provide you some tips on how you can go about creating a gratitude mindset and cultivating a gratitude mindset, because really it's a practice, something that you have to kind of work toward if it's not something that you're naturally inclined toward. All right, as usual, thank you all for tuning in to today's episode. Please subscribe, rate, share the podcast with someone who might benefit. You can reach out to me at angelalifestylemd@gmail.com if you want to share with me some of your experiences with gratitude. You can follow me on social media at The Lifestyle MD on Instagram, and I hope that you will join me next time. Take care. Bye. This has been another episode of The Lifestyle MD. Special thank you to Lou Musa for the show theme music, created with Free Photography and makeup by Janae for the cover photo. And if you enjoyed this podcast and you haven't already, please subscribe today and share with another woman doctor who may benefit. You may also follow me on Instagram at Angela Lifestyle MD. I am Dr. Angela. Thank you for joining me today.